where's the difference going, right? Whose pocket is it going into? So if I have a business owner and I cut a cost, that money's going somewhere.
Sure.
It doesn't disappear. It's either going into my pocket or moving to somewhere else. But we've been running off of this for years, and all of a sudden we've got this surplus. Where to go? And yet we're still shutting things down. That's weird. So talk to me about local elections. Why do local elections matter?
Oh, I think local elections are where it starts. And I think that it gives people that think that maybe their voice isn't heard or that they can't make a difference a bigger platform, rather than the big, federal election.
Sure. So you get in, let's talk about office, right? You've never served in a local office before, right?
Not on this kind of caliber.
Okay, cool. So what is your plan? You get in, I know this is everyone's favorite term right now, day one. But day one, you're in, let's say you get elected day one, like what's your plan day one? Like what do you do?
Well, since I am kind of the newcomer to this and I haven't been involved in these local politics, I'm going to take a little bit and get around and get to know people, getting to know how things run a little bit. Now I have ideas as to things that I want to bring forward. Being a mayor doesn't have a lot of power. It's kind of more influence. Your commissioners actually have a lot of the power. But I can influence and I can make suggestions. And I have a few of those kind of in my mind already as to things I want to do.
Okay, cool. So the number one question that we got when I told people I was doing this, there's two parts. So the first part is jobs, right? Because we're in a weird area where it's not only, you don't only have to bring in jobs to Bay City, but jobs outside of Bay City where there's the counties and the townships and things like that matter because those workers live in the city. So how do we bring in jobs how are you going to bring in jobs as the mayor?
As mayor, how to bring in, I want to make Bay City a place that people want to come to, not leave. I think Bay City has some amazing things going for it. I mean, just the fact, like if you look at it on a map and you look at Michigan, I mean, it's sitting right at the bay with the river going through it. It's very cool. But I think some of the things that have happened within the city have kind of given it a bad name and given it a place where people want to leave. And I think if we can paint Bay City in a better way, I think that people want to come here. I think we need bigger businesses to come here. I don't think the city can run off of 2 roads and small businesses, which we're really good at. I mean, I think there's a lot of good small businesses, but I think we need something a little bit bigger.
Okay. So do you have I guess the question is, what is your plan? Like what, do you get to know people? How do we change that rhetoric of Bay City, of all the bad things that have been happening over the last couple of years? Like how do we fix that to bring in this business?
I think that's going to take some time. I think you have to be consistent with what you're doing. You can't run music concerts and have it go bad like that. You can't have the type of thing that happened with the State Theater. That's going to take a little bit to turn around. I think people need to start trusting their local government a little bit more. I think more people need to get involved with the local government, not just the people that have been in it for the last 9 to 10 years. I think there needs to be new blood. And then I think once that happens, then other people will kind of start, you start to grow a little. You just start to grow. Yeah. And it's just going to take some time. I don't have a specific, this is what I'm going to do or this needs to happen. I think the environment and the energy of who's in charge needs to change in order for that to happen.
Okay. So what do you think is wrong with the current energy and environment?
I think there's been a lot of bad choices over the last 10 years, like I say, that have kind of hindered Bay City's growth. And I think the people living in Bay City have lost a lot of faith in the ones that have been running it.
Okay. Where do you see faults in the last, you brought up 10 years, so where do you see fault? Like what, is there a specific decision that pops out to you as that's our number one example?
Well, I think what is Bay City building on? If we are supposed to be the entertainment and, where people want to come to. We lost the Loons that was supposed to come to Bay City. We lost a casino that went up to Standish that was supposed to come to Bay City. And I understand that we couldn't do it because of this reason or this reason, but that kind of mindset needs to change, and there needs to be different people thinking then, because there are ways that could have happened. I feel like there's ways that could have made that happen.
Sure, because Bay City used to have like 60,000 people, and we have down to 30.
Yeah, and I mean, even like the music, like, okay, so I'm from Saginaw, raised in St. Charles, lived in, out of state for a while, lived in Midland, chose to come to Bay City because Bay City's cool. We got the water. Water is very comforting to me, and there's so many places you can go and hang out by the water. I loved the bridges. Sitting at the bridge for 10 minutes wasn't a bad thing. You turn on your music, you roll down your window, you watch a big ship come through. I mean, that's cool, and that's very unique. So I love Bay City for that.
Was there a specific decision that pops out to you as like what was a bad leadership decision?
Yeah, and I think, even like with the music, okay, so that was the thing, and Bay City had this cool up-and-coming music scene, but now there's this shade over the music scene because of what happened. And I feel like everything, there's been a few things.
Yeah.
Just it's poor leadership and allowing things. And then nobody's being held responsible, right? Like, things happen, and then it's like under the rug. And you see this on a national level. Something big happens, people are upset about it, and then nothing's happening about it. Yeah. And it just kind of keeps progressing. And
Do you know, so, this summer, obviously, there was a canceled event with the production company that was supposed to put it on. Do you know if they ever got their money refunded to them? Because as of like a few weeks ago,
I don't think so. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know the ins and outs fully of that, but I know they haven't been, and it's kind of, it's all been passing the buck. It's not my problem, get a hold of this person. It's not my problem, get a hold of this person. There's been no accountability, I don't think, at all.
Correct. And there was a conversation I had with someone yesterday about it, and there, it's just the city is not involved. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter because perception is reality. And
somebody needs to step up. Somebody from the city even stepped up and tried to make that right, even though it's not your fault, right? You're still the city holding it. You try to do something. It's your people.
Yeah, and I think the tough part is like, the city of Bay City is where you're going to serve, right? But you don't have any pull over the townships and the different areas, right? Because but a lot of people have a Bay City address, but they're not the city of Bay City.
Sure.
And the problem is we're so big, realistically, that it's Bay City, and it all looks like one, right? So did that happen in the city of Bay City, or do all the things always happen in the city of Bay City? No, but it's one address. It's one spot on a map. It is Bay City. So there's
it was downtown. It was in right.
Well, there's things that happen in the township too that I brought up, or I'll bring up later. But
okay.
So it's just one town, and it's a big area, and it's difficult. So with that being said, so we've got to fix this rhetoric, or that's kind of like your plan, right? Rejuvenize the energy. How do you bring that energy to the commission? Because it sounds like most of the commissioners are all going to be new too.
Half of them,
half and half, yeah. So how do you? We've got a weird time now where if you get elected with them being new, you're all kind of new. How do we change the energy, or what's that like for you? What's in your mind is how that energy changes?
I think the important thing is bringing trust back between the people and the government, the local government, putting it out there and being transparent with things, being a little more open to things, and just the conversations. Social media is really big.
Yep.
And very not controlled. But I think being careful with what you put out there and being honest, I think will be important.
Okay. Is there anything specific in which you refer to?
Not really, but there's been a few commissioners that have put things out on pages and then redacted it, or had to fix it and things like that. And that kind of stuff needs to stop. Okay. I don't think it should be. It's a position of, there's got to be a little bit more respect for that position, and you got to be a little bit more careful
Okay.
about how you conduct yourself.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. Hey, Josh, can you pull up that screenshot that I sent you yesterday? Because I want to talk about this. This is what I was pointing to, of things that don't directly happen in Bay City, but it makes Bay City as a whole look bad. So the mayor, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The current mayor of Bay City, put out a statement about supposedly there's like an illegal immigration problem right now, or that's the rhetoric, that's the rumor. And he put out right there, that statement there that they were temporary workers for Michigan Sugar.
Sure.
He has since redacted that and said that that was not true. Would this be one of the things that you're referring to specifically?
Well, I mean, I think everybody makes mistakes, and I think that was a mistake, and he came out and fixed it. But I mean, that kind of stuff, it doesn't help, right? It doesn't help it's almost like throwing gasoline on a fire, something like that. And it also doesn't have respect for people that actually have a concern, you know.
Correct. Because my understanding is people are calling the commissioners right now afraid of crime and afraid of walking down the street because of this particular issue.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know all of that. But
yeah,
I mean, you're going to have a ripple effect with something like that, right?
Yeah.
And
so the problem that I had with this and what sparked this whole thing for me was it didn't seem like an accountability post here, because it just seemed like, hey, all of you that believe this are freaking crazy. But like my son and I watched a bunch of people get off the bus. Now, what I know is we're in the time of year where we do get workers that come in from out of town because they work at the farms, and they do sort of that. It's always been a thing since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So I do know that. But this seemed like a demeaning, unhelpful way to talk to your city, I guess, is my point.
Yeah. And I'll take that a step further, is to where I feel like what is going on now is the people in power tend to look at the citizens of Bay City as people that need to be governed, that need to be controlled in a little bit of a manner, right? Told what to do, told things are safe, where the city government should work for the people. Mm-hmm. So to discredit half the people that you're working for or whatnot, I just don't think that's just not a smart move. But like I say, we all make mistakes, and he did fix that.
He did.
But ripple effects are real, and sometimes words can't be taken back.
Sure. Yeah. So I want to go to the bridges. Let's talk that, because that was like a major talking point for the people that reached out to me. So obviously the bridges, I thought they were sold. I guess they're leased.
They're leased for like 70 years or something, right?
75 years is what I learned yesterday. Okay. The problem lies.
Crazy.
It does seem crazy.
It seems like a horrible business decision. On all arounds, I don't get it.
So what?
I don't.
So why do you think it's a horrible business decision?
Just the fact that they got taken out of the hands of the city, I think, was a bad idea. And anything for that long just sounds absurd to me. I don't understand why you would make a business decision that would last 70-something years. That's like generational.
Yeah, multi-generational.
Yeah.
So what can you? I mean, now we have. It's not only affecting the city, right? Because you have a bunch of people that are having problems getting billed for the bridges, and you've got.
It just adds to the not being able to trust, right?
Yeah. How do we fix that?
I would love to figure out a way to get these bridges back. I mean, I think a lot of people would. I don't know if that's possible. I would like to think if I can get into this mayor position that other options, I'll be able to learn a little bit more about that and kind of what we can do. We need to figure out ways to tie the east and the west side together.
Yeah.
I have some ideas about that too, like walking things and ferries and whatnot back and forth. But ultimately, it's going to affect people coming to this city. I have heard so many people be like, well, just don't even go there. I don't even know. They don't know what bridges cost anymore. They hear a second one's going to be, there's going to be another one that's told. So I fear that it's going to keep a lot of people out of Bay City. Mm-hmm. So if we can't get these bridges back, we need to make sure the education gets out there as to exactly how much it costs, which bridges they are. And then I would love to see on holidays or especially 4th of July, if there's some way that we can work with the bridge partners to lift those tolls or whatnot so people know they're not afraid to come into the city. And, you get to the bridge and a lot of people, they either want to turn or they can't go over it. And there's that fear of like, I'm going to get this big bill. So I think education will be a big thing. And I think trying to work with the Bay City Bridge partners to make sure that things like the 4th of July weekend, which is so big for Bay City, still makes it easy for people to get here and enjoy the city and get back and forth.
Because we were down at one of the bars down on the water, and we sat there and we were watching the line across the one bridge. And so all we did was we just shot out the other side and go down the other way, and it ended up being too costly.
Okay.
Because I got like triple billed for it or something stupid.
Yeah, and they got to fix that because I'm hearing a lot of issues with people and going over it. And there's a height restriction on it too.
Yep.
So if you have something on top of your car, there's concerns.
And a length restriction. If you have a trailer, there's an extra cost. Like these are things that people did not know.
Right. And I feel like if the commissioners voted this in or whatnot, that should have been blasted on their pages, information about that or whatnot. And I don't know if they just kind of left it up to the Bay City Bridge partners to do that, but it's not getting out there enough.
Sure. And the excuse that I got was that they were begging the city to come to these meetings and things like that. And I don't ever remember a time where they put anything out about the bridges, which seems to be again, perception is reality. They're like the people of Bay City don't believe that they're being truthful in that.
I would agree.
Yeah. So how do we get people involved in the future so that these big decisions that actually impact not only the city but the outside, which brings in the business? How do we change that?
Like, how do we advertise and get that kind of stuff out
there? How
there?
do we communicate? How do we get people involved?
Maybe get news stations more involved, not having to just rely on social media, having more meetings. I know that sounds maybe silly, but having more meetings in different areas. We have all the different wards. It would have been nice to maybe have each commissioner have a meeting within their ward to talk about it. I think getting news stations involved because not everybody has social media, like I say.
Right. Yeah, it's
signage, put it on billboards.
Yeah. So obviously I live in the township, and one of the things that I've noticed was that when we have an issue come up because we were going to get the wind farms, everybody put out a sign out front, and it said, no wind, none of that crap.
Sure.
Right? There was a sign in everybody's yard. It's just because everybody knew about it, and I don't think anyone knew. I don't think at any point they asked business owners. I just don't feel like they did anything, and it's frustrating for me to want that someone that constantly brings in new business to the city that was the rhetoric, right? Like that was the and then the gaslighting after of like, yeah, we tried and we asked you guys.
Well,
like,
it's
ridiculous.
concerning. If they're not getting it out there, then why not, right? If you're trying to do something in secrecy or you're trying to do something and not let people know, well, then that's a problem. And if this kind of stuff passed and people feel like they weren't reached out to, or that feels sneaky.
Yeah.
You're never gonna have a good response from people that feel like they've been lied to or snuck over.
So let's talk about the other side of the bridge, meaning the west side. So now we've got also bigger problems there of people commuting, right? We've got streets that are just compacted down to wazoo. I mean, you've got lines starting at about 4:30. Takes longer to get across because people just aren't using these bridges.
Sure.
Which has to mean at some point these other two bridges that we have go down.
Well, and I gotta say, if you live in the city, get your pass. Just get your pass. It makes it so much easier right now. I know that a lot of people want to fight it and be like, "This, I'm not going to do it." Well, it's here. Let's work with it. Just get your pass. It makes it nice and easy. I have a pass.
Yeah, but some people are getting the transponder and then getting overbilled.
Yeah, well,
so which makes it hard.
Sure.
So what's your plan, or if you have a plan of these other two bridges go down, everyone's forced to use these toll bridges, what do we do?
What do you mean, like if the toll bridges are the only ones work? Well, you're going to have one that's going to be down for two 2 years, I think
2
they're
years, 2.5
calling it.
years.
And then you're going to have 2 toll bridges. So ultimately, you will have one bridge. Are you asking me if that one bridge goes out, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
I don't have a plan for that. That's something that we would have to probably work through with Bay City Bridge, the bridge partners, and have open up conversation and communication with them.
So from what I'm learning from my
that
friends,
will suck.
like
That would just flat out suck.
yeah, like Midland friends, Saginaw friends, they just don't even they came once.
No one will come to Bay City.
They went across the wrong bridge the very first time, and it's like, why? And then they get this stupid bill, which went out 3 months late. That was a consistent thing. Then they got overcharged, overbilled. Why would they come back?
I would agree. I think if that were to happen, you will see Bay City split into 2 cities. One will become Essexville, and one will become like Auburn, Saginaw. It's just.
Yeah,
I think that would be detrimental. And I think you can kiss the fireworks goodbye at that point.
Yeah, it's sad to see that go down. So you did a speech at a meeting recently, right? Like,
well, it was a couple months ago now.
Okay, so you brought up.
Well, and then I've done a speech at a different. I'm not sure which.
Okay,
one.
well, the one I saw, I remember watching the video on like YouTube or something like that.
Is it the commissioners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And you went pretty hard on that one.
That was kind of right when I decided that this is what I'm gonna run.
Okay. So what led up to that? What was the factors that led up to that?
When you start just kind of looking into things and realizing decisions that had been made in the past, I got kind of upset when I heard that, hey, we could have had a Loon Stadium, we could have had a casino, that would have brought so much money into the schools. That casino is not even funny, but that's past, that's gone. And then I started watching the commissioner meetings and wondering where's the adult in the room. Mm-hmm. And when you think about mayor, why me? What can I do? Who am I? Who am I to step into that position? I've never done anything in Bay City like this. Nobody knows who I am. What can I actually do? And there's a point where you can either sit back and continue to be angry or get frustrated, or there's a point where you can stand up and say, why not me?
Yeah.
So my 3 main goals with running were I wanted people to start asking some questions, because if you have something like this come in, or somebody new come in, it might get people interested and kind of start asking questions. So I wanted to ask some questions. I wanted to ripple some waters, because I feel like the people that are in power are going to continue to be in power, and I want them to know that people are watching. And my third one was I wanted people to say, well, if she can do that, I can do this. And people might get involved. Mm-hmm. And I sat on it for a while because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be some work, and it's scary to put yourself out there. And again, who am I, But then I was really watching and kind of trying to follow the other people running, and I just couldn't get behind them.
Sure.
And if no one else is doing it, then maybe me.
Got you. Because you came to that. My favorite thing was you just came with receipts. It was great. Like, you came with statistics and receipts.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this. So one of those statistics I liked was like 33% of Bay City is owned by investors.
Yeah, and that I actually called. I called the county and got that.
Okay.
Got that number.
So what does that mean for Bay City in your eyes?
I'm going to say I think home ownership is huge. It gives, when you own a home in an area, it gives you a little bit of pride for that area, concern, and you're invested a little bit. When you have people that are renting, or you have investors that don't even live in the area, I feel like that is just going to, you don't have the people investing in it as much as if they owned a home. Mm-hmm. And so I think if people rent, I'd love to see them
become
not renting.
Homeowners.
Yeah.
So what do you tell the people that they're probably one of the reasons of their lack of homeownership, in my opinion, obviously I'm an investor, is due to the rising property tax costs constantly, due to really insufficient infrastructure. We have high utility bills inside the city as compared to the outskirts and townships like that. Like, what do you tell those people that are just getting ripped apart by the cost of living within the city?
What do I tell them?
Yeah.
Get involved. I mean, ultimately, I sat in a meeting not too long ago, and they were talking about, and none of this has happened, but they're talking about putting a tax on the roads, and they'll never pass if it goes through the city, so they're going to put it through the county. So, I mean, you got to get involved. That kind of stuff has to not be talked about behind closed doors, and you got to know what's going on. I've talked to a lot of people that are renting, and the big thing that holds them back from buying isn't the fear of owning a home or the concerns about utilities and whatnot. It is their ability to save for a down payment. I would love to see something local where people can get help with their down payment to get them into a house. I'd love to see some of these a lot of these houses that are, they're not up to code, or you can't, there's certain things that they have to do to get it available and livable. I would love to see people that want to work a little for that, maybe move into a house that has to have things done, and then instead of this big down payment, they can fix up the house and be able to live in it.
Sure. Sure. But yeah, you're right. It's a huge concern. So do we want, in your eyes, like, what do you think is better? More investors or less investors and more homeowners?
I always think home ownership is the best.
Okay.
I'm a big advocate for that.
So,
and I know you're an investor.
I know,
and you make
okay.
great money. And I remember even before I got into real estate, it was like, man, Bay City, you can go and buy a house for really cheap and rent it out. But the more I've gotten into it, the more I see the city, I think I would love to see people in home ownership. It's still the best way to. You
say that, but I know that in the past, like, city commissioners have made really dumb comments to the press. There's big investors that want to come in, but then they look at statistics, right? You used to have 55,000 people in the population, and now you're at 32. So there's a declining population. You got city commissioners that say it's not necessarily like the best place to live. I had an investor one time send me a news article with a quote from a city commissioner talking about shedding Bay City in a negative light.
Oh, that's horrible.
So like you've got
that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like you've got major issues, and it's hard for me as a business owner. I had to restructure. I had to move things around. I still live in Bay City. I still have an office in Uptown. But it's like, why would I stay here? And why would smart business people stay here if there's not a change soon?
Sure. I would agree with you 100%.
So we've got to do, there's work to be done. And you brought up a good point. So I want to ask this question too. Are there like last minute meetings at the commission where like they just abruptly say they're going to have a meeting? They don't really tell anybody. It's kind of silent.
None that I know of, but there are different committees that meet that aren't public. Yeah.
Do we have? I want to talk about the city manager job, because a point was brought up yesterday about the city manager having. It seems like they do more. They're more important than the mayor.
100%.
Why?
I don't exactly understand that.
Okay. So if that's the case, why would people go out and vote for a mayor? Why does it matter?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I think the mayor has kind of like the influence. I've heard that the mayor is the one supposed to kind of be out shaking hands and kissing babies kind of deal, which is concerning to me because if you've got somebody that's been making bad decisions already, that's a powerful seat. They're the ones that vote. And if you've got somebody that's been doing that and not doing it
sure
well, or the city's not been growing underneath what they've been voting for and whatnot, I think to put in a mayor position is not a great thing. Our city manager, I believe, is the highest paid in that position out of anybody, and our city manager does not live in Bay City and never has lived in Bay City. And I think that's a problem.
Interesting. Josh, can you pull up? There is a news article. Can you pull up, just so I can get the exact number, the salary of the city manager of Bay City? It's ridiculous. It's like I think it's like $136,000.
I think it's higher than that now.
Okay. Yeah, Josh will find it.
Because they've given themselves some raises too,
So
which I think is you don't give raises to government positions, nor do you add government positions when you have a failing city.
has a base salary of $147,000. Her contract was approved in 2022 and will extend through 2024. Her salary is reviewed annually and during evaluations. But I mean, if it's already $150,000 a year, it's not like it's going to go down. It's going to go up. So if it's up this year, and so where does she live?
I believe it's Freeland.
How is that an elected position?
No,
Okay.
I don't know. I can't answer how they got in there or whatnot.
So if that's a salary position that is reviewed, a contract that's reviewed, what would be your plan with that?
I'm going to be real unpopular, and I don't even know if I should say that, but I guess it doesn't matter. My initial, and I can't make policies. The commissioners have to vote on it, but I want a pay cut across the board. I'd want a pay cut across the board, and I want a list of city positions because I think we're top heavy.
Okay.
We have less cops, less firefighters, and more people behind desks, and I think that needs to change.
So let's talk about firefighters because we are shutting down fire stations within the city.
Yeah.
What can you shed some light on that?
Well, I can tell you as of about 10 years ago, there were 68, and these numbers might not be exact, so don't hold me to them, but 68 firefighters, and we are down, I think, to 18.
Is that for the city?
For the city.
Okay.
And I know, it is a big expense. I get it. And then I think they took, they had police, they got the police officers, and then they made the public safety officers, which that means they kind of do both jobs. And I've looked into that in other cities and whatnot, and it does work. The cities that works in is both are cross-trained, right? It's just not the police doing both jobs. It's the firefighter and the police that kind of doing both jobs. And then I've looked into some other cities where they've tried it. It didn't work, and then they went back to keeping them separate. I can tell you that per OSHA, you have to have 4 firefighters on scene in order to go in and sweep a house. A lot of times they have 2 with a public safety officer. So it's not safe for them to go in and sweep houses. Now, I know these
How has OSHA not stepped in on that?
Well, they just don't go in and sweep houses.
So
right? They don't go in and search the houses. So
interesting.
But here's the thing. When you're as a firefighter, and I've known some firefighters in my past, if there was a burning house and they know somebody's in trouble, they're going to go into that house. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts, right? That's in their heart and soul to do that.
I get that until OSHA comes in and starts shutting people down and reprimanding people, and then all of a sudden you have an issue where you do have the 4 people, and who wants to go in because you're going to get in trouble.
Sure.
So that's not good. I don't think that people also understand the importance of firefighter stations, how it affects your insurance costs and your taxes cost. If you are not within a certain distance, the farther you are away from a fire station, the more expensive your insurance becomes. People don't know that.
Sure.
So like me, I'm 0.9 away from a fire station, so that was factored into my insurance cost. Maybe it's not that much, but I would argue that $100 a year right now is a lot of money to a lot of people, especially in Bay City. So that is a cost. If we lose more firefighters, and that's factored into insurance, rising costs, now you've got infrastructure problems, crime goes up because you said they do both, right? I don't even know because I've never gotten in trouble in downtown Bay City, so I'm lucky.
Not even years ago, huh?
Yeah, not even years ago. So we have big problems that come from just this one issue.
Well, and I get it. It's a big expense, and you're paying for downtime. I mean, I was an ER nurse for 12 years, and so I watched them be like, "Oh, there's nothing going on. You're not busy. We can cut." Right? Yeah. But in a situation like that, you're going to pay for downtime because when you need them is when that money comes in, right? Yes. And you want a full force. And I think the more we keep continuing to cut and being like, well, they're having downtime. If you can lean, you can clean, or whatever. I mean, that downtime needs to happen. These are positions that not everybody can do in life, right? This is a calling. These are I think they're a little bit more special. Whoever wants to be a police officer, you're putting yourself on the line out there. Who's firefighters? It's different than somebody who wants to sell a house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the cost needs to. We need to put money into our public service.
So let me ask you this. So there's a benefit. So one of the benefits that I was told yesterday of us not owning the bridges anymore is it's like a $200,000 a year additive back in because we're not maintaining the bridges or like shoveling or snowing them, but yet they've still got to pay for our whatever. So it comes out to be like $200,000 a year
Of savings? Is that what they're saying?
Something like that. It was
Okay.
like, that was some. Don't quote me on that. I'm
Okay.
kind of. There was like one brief moment in the conversation I had yesterday. So it blows my mind that we have a savings and then yet we get rid of more infrastructure.
Sure. Yeah,
It's
I
like,
know.
then where's the difference going, right? Whose pocket is it going into? So if I have a business owner and I cut a cost, that money's going somewhere.
Sure.
It doesn't disappear. It's either going into my pocket or moving to somewhere else. But we've been running off of this for years, and all of a sudden we've got this surplus. Where to go? And yet we're still shutting things down. That's weird.
I would agree, and I think that's a question that a lot of people would have.
Is there like a city budget?
There is.
Okay.
There is, and from what I understand, you can get online and see it. I haven't looked at it because it's pages and pages long.
Okay. Is there ever a point where you get elected where you have forensic accountants go through the city budget?
I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that.
How
I don't know if they do. I think that'd be great. You know, it concerns me because these bridges, the money, are not the marijuana.
Sure.
And what they make from the marijuana, they actually, I know they say it's going towards roads, but it actually goes into a general fund.
Okay.
And that general fund, from what I understand, can get used for anything. So it's pretty much a promise that it's going to be in there. But people understand what a promise from your local government is.
Yeah. Josh, can you pull up, is Bay City still number one in the state for most marijuana shops per capita?
I think we're behind like Warren.
But we were
maybe-
number one, right?
We are very high up there. Per capita, I think we've got to be up there.
Yeah, that's insane. So we've got this tax revenue from that going into you're saying a general fund.
General fund.
And then what is that general fund used for?
I think it can get used for whatever they deem necessary.
So who makes that decision?
City manager.
So, okay. So you've got the overpaid city manager. Let's see here what it says. I can't find that.
Well, and I mean, it's voted on, right? So they say, and then it's voted on by your commission.
And the top 23 Michigan cities vote active. So Bay City's at 22. But this is from 2021, Josh. I think we were at like 28 last time I looked. Yeah, that's insane. So general fund, the city manager.
Which I get it. I mean, marijuana, it's a big moneymaker, right? And I understand marijuana and the use of marijuana.
What does the city manager do every day?
I mean, I'm sure she's busy. I mean, they make a lot of decisions. You'd have to ask her, have her on here.
I would love to have her on. I would love to have her on. Will she come on is the question. I would reach out to her.
But she figures out, that they need road work done or if they want this kind of thing. I think she figures out who does that kind of work and presents it to the commission, and the commission ultimately votes on it.
You feel like right now there's some fluff that we can get rid of and lean down a little
100%.
bit. How much do you think it is? If you had to guess.
You are you're going to put a big bullseye on my back, but I think are you talking like how many jobs that are unnecessary?
Jobs, how
high people are getting paid?
Yeah. I mean, well, I just don't think like a commissioner, what do they make? Like $7,500 a year?
No.
A commissioner?
I believe that's monthly. Commissioners, I believe, make $70,000 a year.
For commissioners?
Double check that.
Josh, can you look that up too? Sorry, I'm throwing a lot at you right now. Can you look at the commissioner pay for Bay City? I thought it was $7,500 a year.
No. If you Google it, I think an MLive article comes up and they talk about it was $7,000 and then it raised to $7,500 was their raise. But that's, I believe, is monthly. If you go a little bit farther down and actually look at something different.
The salary was...
Right there.
Oh,
City mayor. Yeah, that's
pay
your city
raise.
mayor. But the MLive doesn't. The MLive talks about it just a flat fee, but it doesn't say monthly or yearly. But I'm pretty sure that's monthly.
Salaries up to 9,000. So the mayor only makes 9,000.
No, the mayor makes somewhere, I think in like 75 to 80 or so. I'm not exactly sure. And I have tried to get on the like the Bay City.
59,000. There is a lot of just different numbers here.
Yeah,
That's
and
scary.
like I tried and I tried to get onto like the Bay City site, government site, to figure out like it should just be posted, right? It should just be listed, and I can't find it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look up, if you go to like most public office jobs, they have a open salary. That's crazy though, because one's saying 23, one is saying 59. This one says 57. The one said 9,000. That's weird.
Again, transparency.
So,
But there you go. There's
from what
six city
I,
commissioners.
from what I had heard from the city commissioners, with they would only make about $7,500 a year. That's what I was personally told. This is the Google saying something different. You're saying something different. So there's the accountability piece of not being transparent. We don't know.
Yeah. Again, these people work for the people of Bay City.
Yeah.
The Bay City citizens don't work for the government. The government works for the people. And that kind of stuff should be right out there.
Interesting. That's an interesting thing. So let's talk about this $40 million housing project that's coming into Bay City. Can you shed some light on that for me?
It's coming into Bay City, but from what I understand, Bay City doesn't have much to do with it. It is state funded, and it's supposed to be based off of salary. So whatever whatever you're making or bringing in is supposed to be, I think, no more than 30% of what your base salary is.
Is that good, bad?
People need a little bit more affordable housing.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it's going to be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Do we know who the contracts have gone to that are building it yet?
I don't, but I'm pretty sure that's out there.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you can look that up and know that.
Hopefully local.
I would like to see a local, and I would like to make sure that is actually what it's going to be used for.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of promises, and again, I don't fully trust what they're telling us either, So accountability, and I just hope that is actually what it's going for.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there anything about your candidacy? Obviously, you're a write-in candidate. So people got to write your name in. They got to flip to the back page.
Yeah, they got to fill in the bubble. They got to write my name in.
Fill in bubble, write your name in. Is there anything that you should want to say, like last minute, to the people that are going to be listening, why they should vote for you?
I am not in anybody's pocket. I am doing this purely because I care about the city that I live in, and I feel like my intentions are good and true. And I would like to see a little shakeup in Bay City, and I would like to see the energy in that commission room in those meetings change. And I want it to be positive, and I want a little bit more better leadership, and I can do that.
We want to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Change is sometimes good. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hopefully
I appreciate
these weren't
it.
too tough of questions for you.
No, they weren't. You got any tougher ones? I'm ready.
Yesterday I did. Yeah, yesterday I did, but there was things around that. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks.
And we'll get this posted out
Hopefully
before Tuesday.
Go ahead. Thanks. Oh, and if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, they can. I've sat in a lot of living rooms. I've sat in coffee shops and talked with people. So if anybody has any other questions for me, reach out. I'm an open book.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.